All right. Welcome back.
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation. The Misfit Nation Show.
We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by two veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their stories to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the Misfit Nation. If you're a musician or an actor, our audience needs to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, we love our coaches. Come on and share your tips with the Misfit Nation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you are a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and show how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you are a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and share your story with the Misfit Nation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkness, stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or feel embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you are a new listener, welcome to the Misfit Nation Show. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast app. Also on our YouTube channel at @the_Misfit Nation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date on our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show!
All right, it's Tuesday. We'll start off with a little remembrance today. First, we'll remember Police Officer Ray Barantes, Chowchilla Police Department, California. End of watch, Friday, October 3rd, 2025. Deputy Sheriff Charles Riley, United States Navy veteran, Iberville Parish Sheriff's Department, Louisiana. End of watch, Monday, October 6th, 2025. Let's keep them in your thoughts and prayers, their families, their friends, their peers, their communities, as they go through this sudden change. We don't need to resort to violence. We can talk things out. Let's remember that, Misfit Nation. Remember, there's always a better way to do things, and you are at the tip of that spear. And now, Misfit Nation, it's September. No. September's in the books. And now we flip a page. A new month, a new run, and a brand new chapter of the ToosDay Crue. October's here, and we're coming in heavy. More grit, more laughs, more truth bombs, and more of the raw stories you can only get right here. The leaves may be falling, the nights may be colder, but in here, the fire is just getting started. And the crew is about to take it to the next level. So buckle up, Misfits, and get ready to charge in October the right way. Here they come. It's Cagney, it's Lacey, it's Steven, it's Jake, the ToosDay Crue.
Hello there.
Good evening, Steven. How you doing?
I'm good. It's pretty funny you said, the nights are getting colder. I've slept with the air conditioner on like the last 3 nights because it's so warm.
Oh, you and me both. You and me both. I got off the airplane this morning in Nashville, flew up from North Carolina, got off the plane, and it was drizzling rain. I expected it to be cooler. It wasn't. It was kind of sticky, so it is what it is. But how's your week been since the last time I seen you?
It hasn't been bad, working 12-hour days, then come home, do my home stuff.
All right. Yeah, about the same here. I've been on the road. It was great to get back to the family today and see Mrs. Holland. She cooked me up a real fine meal for my welcome home meal. It was awesome. And so got that in my belly. And now, hey, we're getting ready.
Quick, before we push forward, I just have a question for you.
Yeah.
Every week we go morbid. We pay respect to the fallen fire, cops and everything.
Uh-huh.
Why don't we go in and talk about the ones that run into fire to burning houses and save kids too? Why not why not talk about both sides of that? You know,
Well,
we should honor both sides of that.
well, I
Yes,
tell you what, we will start diving. I'll start diving into the news and stuff and see if I can find special stories, and we can give a shout out to those heroes. I've got a good friend of mine that's a firefighter, and he asks me all the time, says, I don't see how, because of my job in the military, he says, I don't see how you walk down on bombs all the time and disarm them and stuff. And I said, buddy, that's the easy job. I don't see how you rush into burning buildings. I said, you're crazy.
everybody else is running one way, and he's like, let me go play.
Exactly. Well, hey, I'm going to get our guest on here. I have been excited about this show for a long time because I was given a book to read. The book is called Building Men. And I read that book, and after reading that, I was maybe a chapter into that book. I could not wait to get Jim Tracy on this show. He's flown jets, trained with F-16 pilots. He's been inducted into the Wireless Hall of Fame. He's got 3 books, 350 plus podcasts. He's built, scaled, and sold multiple companies. And I like this word he's got. He's not a grandpa, and he's not a champion. He is a Grampion to 18 grandkids. And hey, without any further ado, let's get Jim in here.
Man, Jay,
Hello,
thanks. Hey, Stephen, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. What an honor it is to be on with you guys. I got a really big. The reason I got with you guys in the first place is I saw the honor that you paid to our veterans, and I feel such a debt of gratitude, not only to them but to you for honoring them on a weekly basis. I just want to say thank you. This is all my honor and not yours. So thanks for your service, and thanks for being a redneck, John. Jake. Thanks for being the Cagney half, Stephen.
Well, you're on tonight, and you've done 350 podcasts. You can teach us things.
Yes.
This means I talk a lot.
Hey, if you got any tips for us, we're always looking for tips.
Well, I started podcasting. It wasn't even really a podcast back then. I walked back into the shop, and we had employees, and I knew everybody's names. Usually I knew their wife's names, and most of the time I knew their kids' names. And I walked back there and I thought, who is that fella? And I couldn't place him. And he looked out of place, and I asked him, and he says, well, I work for you. And I thought, oh, this ain't cool. And then we moved up where we grew it. My other son, Ryan, and I grew it to 3 locations. And all of a sudden, all these folks I got to put into their lives, and I got to tell them what's important to me. So maybe they'll figure out if it should be important to them or not. And you get to mentor them, and all of a sudden now I don't know their name. And so we started doing a live call-in like radio show, only it was just on telephones, and we'd call every office, and it was pretty funny because my media guy said, you can't do that live. And I'm like, why not? He said, because people are going to ask you questions you don't want to answer. And sure enough, first time we did it, somebody called me from one of our other locations, and there's 120 of us on the phone, and he says, Jim, I just want to know how much you make. And I'm like, cool question. I appreciate that. But first, you tell me how much you make. And he said, well, I don't want to say in front of anybody, all these folks. And I said, me neither. Next question. And I figured if I could handle that kind of stuff, man, I could probably handle a recording. So podcasting has gotten easier.
Yeah. And in regards to that question, I was raised that you never ask a man that.
Yeah.
Ever. Because it really shouldn't matter.
It's Nunya.
Exactly.
100% Nunya.
Yeah. And my kid also tells me, he says, you never ask a man how many cattle he owns or how many acres he's got, because that's just another way of reformatting that question into what are you worth?
That's right.
Worth what I'm wanting to put up today, you know?
That is right. Yeah, Jim, we introduced you just a little bit. Why don't you tell the Misfit Nation about yourself a little bit, and so everybody knows who we're talking to here.
Okay. I'm a kid from the country in South Dakota. There was 8 misfits, 7 boys and 1 girl. And I met a girl in Duluth, Minnesota, and I went to her dad and I said, "Hey, I'd really in love and I'd like to marry your daughter." He said, "Where are you going to college?" I was a welder. And I said, "Where am I going to college? Anywhere you want, sir. If that's the price of admission, I'll go. I'm in." And so went to college and went to married student housing, graduated with my wife. We moved to Minneapolis and chasing a job and chasing entrepreneurship. And that took us out to Denver, and economy went kind of sideways, and that took us to Seattle area. And that's a place I said I'd never move. God thought that was pretty funny. Spent 27 years in the Pacific Northwest, and we built a company there called Legacy Telecommunications. My son Ryan and I started it, and the reason I got involved is because I thought he was going to die on a job site, because they had a 17 and an 18-year-old building towers, and neither one of them knew what they were doing. So I ended up on site helping them, and yeah, lo and behold, I kept my spurs into him. And one day he came home and said, "Well, you know, if you're so smart, let's just do it ourselves." And cashed in the retirement and started a company and grew it to a couple hundred employees in 4 locations, now 5, and merged it into private equity and got outside of that. And now I like to think of myself as a little bit of a teacher and a little bit of a trainer and a little bit of a coach and mentor. And that's where that book actually came from, Jake. And I'm glad you liked it.
Oh, I tell you what, I'm kind of telling on myself a little bit. We were a little bit slow one day, had some bad weather, and I done what I needed to do early, and I was going to pick it up and read a couple chapters while I was having my cup of coffee. And the next thing I know, I was at the last page.
Oh, good. I appreciate that. You know, it's a lot harder to write a book than they say it is.
Oh, I have never tried to tackle that, and I do good to read the English language, let alone write it. But it flowed good. It was, you didn't use a bunch of $100 words in there that a guy like me couldn't read.
And, that's kind of funny you say that, because all this stuff is new to me. So, but this company says, "Hey, we're going to review your book," and you send them a copy and you go, "Okay." And they get back to you and they said, "Well, it's a pretty good little book." And he doesn't waste any time on 3-syllable words, which is their backhanded not compliment.
Yes.
But you know what? I didn't get raised that way. I'm pretty plain spoken, and I like to think that I wrote something that, I just collected stories of people who influenced me and who changed my life. And when I write their story, I'm not telling my story. I'm telling their story, because they're the ones who took the time and invested in me. And yeah. So that's the long and the short of it is it really isn't about me. It's really about them. And my gratefulness to them.
Yeah, and you could also see what I liked about it is I could tell by reading it your relationship with your parents, your relationship with your kids, your relationship with folks that you worked for and who worked for you. It was very easy to pick all that out, and it was amazing. I liked it a lot.
Good, because I didn't put any of the bad stories in there.
Well,
I figured there's enough of that crap out in the marketplace already.
That's the next book. You like this one? This one's going to blow you away.
Actually, we started making sayings to help people remember stuff. Because when you get like, there's a saying, and we coined it. My son and I did, because we went and we sat down with a customer and we said, "Hey, they don't want us to. We're building industrial sites. Okay, they don't have to be pretty. but they have to be better than the other guys. And that way people call you back. That means you built a better network, and it's going to work when maybe the other guys who built it didn't. And so they asked us what our standard for quality is. And we said, perfect is good enough. And boy, a guy from the one of the guys at the shipyard got a hold of that, and he said, "Oh, you're gonna just demoralize all your folks. Nobody's gonna be happy, and blah 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 blah. Just a terrible quality statement." And I'm like, I don't know, man. If we shoot for perfect and we hit awesome, or we hit excellence, I think they're going to be pretty happy. They're going to look over their shoulder at the end of the day. They're going, I did a pretty good job. And that's how we built the company. And so that saying, perfect is good enough, you go back to that company to this very day and you say that to somebody, they know exactly what you mean. And the reason I bring that up is Stephen, to answer your question, the second book is called Management by Cliche, because there's nothing new under the sun. And that comes out next February, I think. Yeah. If we get through the editing process. Editing, if you don't know, it's somebody says, boy, I really like your work, but it sucks so bad I got to fix it.
Yes.
Cut me a check and I'll make it readable.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, there is a whole bunch of that. So, yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
And the reason I said that, the reason that I was interested about Misfit Nation goes back in the first book. And Jake, I'm pretty sure it spoke to you, but it was, I believe it was chapter 17. It was about my son Major when he was on the phone with me over in Afghanistan. And so I wrote a chapter called Courage, and I had never, I'd kind of experienced it from some of the World War II guys and some of the Korean War guys who I spent part of life with them. But boy, I never experienced it like my son being on the phone and going, you hear the bing, ping, ping of bullets. And he goes, "Hey, Dad, love you. Got to go." And
yeah,
I'm in Washington State. Then he would call me because I was the only one who'd get up at 3 a.m. and answer the phone. And so, but I would actually set my alarm every day for 3 a.m. because that's when he was going to be able to talk. And so really about 5 days a week, he'd end up calling, and it was a wonderful time for our relationship, but he went through some pretty terrible stuff over there. So I wrote that because I was in such admiration of his courage. And that's the character trait that we put a character trait, Stephen, at the head of every chapter. And courage is the one that I learned from him. So you can learn from younger people too.
Well, yes. And again, thank Major for his service. That was, I always, young people that serve, I have a lot of admiration for them, because somebody's got to pick up the torch and keep carrying it. Yeah. After, all of us old retired guys get out and quit doing it. But, something, and now I don't know if this is courage, crazy, what you call it, but one of your businesses and one of the biggest things was telecommunications towers.
Yeah.
Okay. I've got one right across the road from my house out here in the middle of nowhere. And it's got trees around the bottom of it. I can't always tell if there's a truck down there.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll hear people yelling. Then I'll step out from underneath the trees in my front yard and I'll look up there, and there'll be two guys up there dangling off of it, just doing whatever they're doing up there.
Yeah.
And, I got winds on the surface blowing X amount of knots. I can only imagine what it is up on the top of that tower.
Well, she picks up a little bit.
Yeah. Like, those guys are crazy.
Yeah. Though, when we got in the business, there was a practice called free climbing. And that's when you just, you would think that tying off slows you down and going to hinder you. So you'd climb up without being attached to the tower. And that literally doesn't exist anymore, which is a good thing. I mean, some of the false bravado is gone, but as an industry, we went from sometimes closing in on 20 fatalities a year down to 2 or 3, maybe 4. And so we're taking better care of the people who actually climb those towers. But another thing about that is that in our business, we found that Special Forces veterans were really adept at doing that kind of work. And I started to try and boil down the why of that is. And now you're talking about a group of typically men. I know that there's ladies, not too many in Special Forces, but they served wonderfully, and I appreciate that. But when you get a small group, so you got small groups with defined objectives, they got compressed time frames, they got high risk, and they got lots of pressure. And when you combine all those, you get a SF guy, they kind of thrive in that environment. And so, what I found is that those are the guys who made great team leaders. They call them team guys for a reason. They can only focus on those people in that small circle of influence, but boy, are they good at it. So.
And I'm just guessing here. I imagine you got to be in pretty good shape to climb them ladders.
Yeah, well, sometimes they're not ladders; they're pegs.
Yeah, I can see that.
The old poles grabbing the pegs going up.
You can find some new muscles tomorrow if you climbed one today.
My father has it, or he still lives there. I don't think he does it anymore. He's in the 70s, but he ran the tree department here in town, and he would come in my father's yard and like a monkey, climb up that tree, cut the branches off. Just a little rope around, just shimmy his ass up there. And he was a big man. I'm like, how the hell do you do that?
But
you got to be in shape a little bit, but those spikes help some.
Oh, yeah. But, and I'm sure, being tied in, you're only going to fall so far and all that. That's not what scares me, though. I know when I get up there, that pop-up lightning storm's going to come.
Oh boy, yeah.
And Jake's going to be a target.
You'd be surprised how fast a motivated man can get down off a tower.
Oh, hey. Yes, I can definitely understand that. I can definitely understand that. Now, toward the end of your book, and it's been a couple months since I read it, and I want you to go through this story because it really touched me. There was an older gentleman laying in a hospital room, dying. And he came to know our Lord.
He did. Yeah, his name is Dan Hosford, and Dan was a dog trainer. And I say that, and I think I might reference in the book, but he was also a human trainer, and he had a wicked funny sense of humor. He would sometimes sit in the back of his truck, and he'd sit with you in front of him, and you'd be handling a retriever. So if you send your arm to the right, the dog would go that way, and if you head to the left, and if you raise your hand up, the dog goes back away from you, and it's all done with whistle commands. But he was a human trainer because if you make a mistake, you can't really hold the dog accountable for it. So he'd sit back there, and he had a wrist rocket, and he'd jiggle marbles in his pocket. And he said, "I'm going to sting you in the butt. You do that again to that dog, I'm going to sting you." So there's some things about Dan that didn't quite make the book, but man, he was a character. And I keep a list of 10 people that are my targets, my personal targets to witness my faith to. And I think after about a decade, Dan fell to the bottom of that list as kind of a hopeless cause. And there ain't no hopeless cause. I know that. For God, there's not. For me, there. I don't. I don't know about me, but Dan was a man's man, and he liked dogs. He liked hunting. He liked whiskey. He liked women. He was married 3 times, and I got a call. I had put my dog with Dan because I was on the road a whole bunch, and I I put my dog with him, and I got a call from this lady, really nice gal from Canada, and she said, "Hey, you got to come and pick up your dog." And I'm like, "Why are you calling me?" You know, well, Dan's in the hospital. He had a stroke, and he's got a brain tumor. And I'm like, "Okay, I'll be right there." So I went over there, and the long and the short of it, they found a big mass behind his head, and that caused a stroke. So they get his wife in there, and and I come up, and they say they're going to go do a special MRI where they put these little lifesavers all over your head. And he had half his head shaved by then, so I was teasing him a little bit too. You can kick a good friend when he's down. But anyway, so they did a special MRI to figure out the size and the shape and the density and the mass of this tumor that's in his noggin. And they did an MRI on it, and then they come back and they said, "Yeah, we're going to operate within the hour." And so I went to Dan and I said, "Dan, I'd like to pray with you." And he said, "Okay, that's good." And I said some weak puke prayer. I was like, "Dear God, please help Dan. I got to go see you." And I didn't even make it to the elevator. And I said, "You can't do that. You got to, here's a guy. If he don't know Jesus, he's going to hell." And so I went back in there and I said, "Dan, I'm a Jesus follower. I want you to follow Jesus. Let's pray again." And I said another weak prayer, and I wasn't any good at it. It's not my gift, or at least it wasn't then. And at any event, I went back in a third time, and I reached across and I grabbed his hand because his right hand didn't work, so I grabbed his offhand. Anyway, I said, "Dan, you're gonna go get your noggin cut open, and you could die on that table. And if you die before you make the Lord Jesus your Savior, you're going to hell. But if you commit to make him Lord of your life," it says, "confess with your mouth, believe in your heart that God's going to raise you from the dead, you get to go spend eternity up in heaven with him. No questions asked. He just wants you to give him control." And he grabbed my hand. He said, "I believe, I believe, I believe." And that little man squeezed my hand so hard that I thought he was going to break it. He came out of that surgery, and there's a long story with it that I'm not going to get into, but he came out of that surgery a changed man. I never heard him cuss very much anymore. It's a hard habit to break. He had an occasional cigar, but he quit cussing. He started going to church. I said, "Hey man," so when he got out of surgery, his left eye didn't work and his right eye could only see this much. So to read the Bible, he'd have to go like this.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was trying to be easy on him. I said, "Just start and read the book of John, man. Just read that. It's the gospel. Like, I marked it for you. Just read that. Tell me what you think." So I called him a week later. He said, "Well, I disagree with you. I think you should start a book from the beginning." And so I started at Genesis, and I'm now in 2 Kings.
Nice.
And that man, he knew such little about the Bible that he said, "I read the book of Job, not Job." He said, "I read the book of Job." And I got to tell you, it's a transformation that happened that was so amazing. It's one of those things you'd have to see it to believe it. But everybody in the dog world saw it, and it was a fantastic testament to Dan's perseverance and to a God that's gracious enough to even take a loser like me.
And to go back, you said that, praying and sharing the Lord, really wasn't your thing at the time. God doesn't always qualify, or God doesn't always call the qualified. He qualifies the called.
Yeah.
So,
and it doesn't matter how long the prayer is, as long as you get the point across.
yes.
Well, it was, it would have been pretty easy to take that elevator down, but I just couldn't shake it. When someone's a friend and you love them, and I don't mean like a mushy, I mean a brotherly love. He was a brother, and I had gone through some stuff with him, and hopefully that kind of could come across in the book. But if I didn't say something, what kind of a friend would I be? So I got better at it. I'm trying to get better still.
And hey, that's all we can do. That's all we
Yeah.
can do.
Yeah.
I've got a son-in-law who's a pastor, and his goal this year, we're firm believers, the more that you read the book and follow it, the closer you get, the better you understand it and all that. His goal this year is to read the Bible cover to cover 6 times. And
Oh, wow.
he said he reads something, he'll go through, and he said each time he goes through, he reads something new like he's never read it before. And he said it's amazing. We're going to take a short pause here. I'm going to interject some stuff. Misfit Nation, we appreciate y'all coming in here tonight. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And also, if you're out there, you're seeing the darkness and you don't think that there's any way out, pick up that phone, dial 988. If you're a veteran, take option 1. Somebody there will talk to you and get you the help that you need. If you do not want to pick up that phone, get on your computer, your phone, whatever. Email me, jake@themisfitnation.com. Email Stephen at themisfitnation.com, or email at info@themisfitnation.com. Drop your name and phone number in there. We'll call you back. We will talk to you. Like I said, there's no judgment here, nothing. We know that there's folks out there that need help, they're in trouble, and think that they have no way out. Don't take that permanent solution to a temporary problem. And remember, tomorrow will not be as beautiful without you in it. We love you, and we want you to get better. We want you to be here. Thank you. All right, Stephen, we got a question for us, buddy.
Yes, sir. I was just looking at it.
All right, so this is from
Robbins Racing Crew. Robbins Racing Crew.
Robbins Racing Crew. With the final 8 set, who is the favorite and who is your favorite?
Listening to the announcers, the favorite is either Logano or Hamlin, because that's all they talk about. Everybody else is like dog crap. My favorite is going to be Briscoe or Bell. Briscoe more, but I just like those 2 drivers. They're up and coming. I think they're going to do good things in NASCAR, and I'm hoping that they get up.
I tell you what, Hamlin, I've got to say, he's in first place. He's got to be the favorite. He's probably the old. I think he is the oldest one in there. He's got to be the favorite. And I got to pull for Dave Blaney, man.
Dave Blaney's good.
That'll keep peace in the house.
And never, ever, ever, never underestimate Larson. He's been very quiet. He hasn't been winning races, but you know what? He's due. And when he's running and he's due, he's going to burn people.
The producer goes with Larson and then Chase Elliott. Good picks. Yeah. Good picks. Robbins Racing, I hope that answers your question. All right, let's get
one about NASCAR every week. I like that.
Yes, yeah, we get at least one NASCAR question. Yes, we do. So Jim, okay, got a question for you.
Okay.
How has being a jet pilot shaped the way you approach leadership in business?
Wow. That's what a terrific question. When you begin to learn to fly, you do so for a reason. And my reason was that my eldest son in our branch was 5 hours away by truck, but it was an hour and a half away by plane. And I also took my dad on a ride before he died, and that was pretty cool. And that was the reason I originally started. But when you learn to fly a jet, everything changes, because now there's no wind noise, there's no propeller noise, there's not really a lot of engine noise because it's behind you. And so you have to learn to anticipate. And then in order to anticipate, you have to do a better job of preparation. And the more prepared you are, and we're looking at a project right now, and it's really, really a remote site. And I've done a lot of remote work. But when you do remote work, I mean, I've heard stories about guys who ship containers full of parts up to Alaska and sent them way out in the bush. And they got out there and they thought, dang, I forgot a hammer. preparation is everything in life and in business. And the more you prepare, the more equipped you are to handle all the changes that are coming. And I say that in there's a keynote speech that I do called Embrace Change. And I just did another version of it for some folks in the real estate business. And they're like, well, what's going to happen if interest rates go up? I'm like, I don't know. What's going to happen if they go down? Because the only thing I do know is that they're going to change. Now, if you prepare for them to go up and you prepare for them to go down, then you're not going to be surprised, and change isn't going to bother you nearly as much. Matter of fact, you're going to be a step ahead of all the folks that you're competing with. So why don't you quit fretting about it and start preparing for it? So if you think about it, everything that we experience, whether it be economic calamity or, I mean, if you're lived in South Florida and you don't anticipate a hurricane, well, I think you got a learning disability.
Yes. Yes.
If you live in Oklahoma and you're not thinking about where you're going to go or where you're going to put your kids if there's a tornado, well, you might be a redneck.
You might be.
Here's your card.
Yeah, and so I think that in terms of flying, it teaches you these planes are so advanced they fly themselves until they don't. And when they don't, that's when you better have all your training kick in and all your preparation ramp up, and you better be able to take care of all the problems. So that's, it teaches you to anticipate. So hopefully that's a good answer for your listeners.
All right. And yeah, I like, and you was mentioned about being prepared for a tornado. I got 2 dogs in the house. As soon as it thunders, they run and jump in the bathtub.
Smart dogs.
Yeah. Oh, they've been trained. Trust me.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Got another question that popped in here from Red 39. What's the biggest lesson you've learned about building resilience over your career?
Wow. There's a lot of times I'm going to answer it in 2 ways. There's a lot of times where we were blessed because me and my kid both were savers instead of spenders. And there's a lot of times that we ran to the mailbox looking for a check and it wasn't there. Now, God was seldom early, but he was never late. But sometimes we had to pull out of that savings account to make sure we made payroll. And so be a saver instead of a spender. It's easy to have some banker talk you into getting a big line of credit. Don't do it. Do it the hard way. And then the second part, when you talk about resilience, I was in 2016. I was in a pretty bad ski accident, and I wrecked my leg. My kid drove me down to the hospital, and I was a know-it-all, and I looked at the doc, and I said, oh, yeah, you're going to set my leg tomorrow after the swelling goes down. You're going to tell me to stay off it. And he said, Mr. Tracy, I'm going to tell you that if I don't operate the next hour, you're going to lose your leg. Whoa, that'll get your attention.
Yes.
And I had crushed my tibial plateau and got compartment syndrome. So my leg was starting to balloon up. It's where all the blood goes in and none of it goes out. Mm-hmm. So all the blood that goes in dilutes all the blood, and pretty soon your nerves don't have any oxygen. So anyway, they got to open up your leg and they got to take all the, like when you get a film on the back of a rack of ribs.
Yep.
Well, there's a film like that around all your muscles that fills up and it starts to swell up. And anyway, they had to cut all those away out of my leg, and they had to use some cadaver bone and some plastic bone and some of my bone and some stainless steel. And they said, yeah, you're probably going to never run again and you're never going to walk right. So you're lucky to keep it. And so I was like, okay, if you say so, but you know what? Number one, I was never a runner. I don't like running. So that's okay with me till you tell me I can't. And so I walk right now about 5 miles a day, and I did a 5K terrain race, a Spartan race with my grandsons and my granddaughters. I've done 3 of those now, and more on the way. So don't believe the people who say it can't be done. They probably just haven't done it yet.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. And let's that gave us kind of a good end to grandchildren. I'm a firm believer, if I'd have known that grandchildren were as fun as they are, I'd have had them before I had my kids.
There you go.
I love my grandkids, and why don't we talk about being a Grampion? I like that.
Yeah. I was playing a game of cribbage with my grandson Wes. I teach my grandkids math on a cribbage board, and so we were playing cribbage, and I beat him. And Wes is a pretty competitive little bugger, and he was about 13 years old then, and he stood up and he was frustrated. You could see it in his eyes. He said, "You're not a grandpa." Like, what did you say? You're not a champion. Come again? He said, "You're a Grampion," and he smiled, and that stuck. And so I wasn't so bold to name myself that, but one of my grandsons named me Grampion, and it stuck. And so it's become a term of endearment. Some of my little ones come up and they don't even know they don't know me by any other name than Grampion. So that's pretty cool.
That's amazing. Yeah. And it's I take it from that you get to see your I've got one granddaughter that I get to see all the time. She lives close, but I've got 3 others. I get to see them on video stream and stuff like that, and on holidays. But that's just amazing, because they're our future. That's who's going to be taking care of us.
You better believe it. My oldest grandson owns his own business. He's 22 years old. He's just got married. And my youngest were born last month I guess now the tail end of August, 29th of August. So I had twin girls. So between those age groups, we got quite a spread. And so they got to keep me young.
Oh, yeah. My oldest just got her driver's license, my oldest granddaughter. So yeah, she wants to drive me somewhere. She has driven me. I was teaching her how to drive a manual shift on her grandmother's Jeep. So
that's awesome.
That was 2 or 3 years ago. But now that she's learned to actually drive, we're going to go out and try it again.
Do you know what they call those manual transmissions?
That's a millennial anti-theft device.
Millennial anti-theft device. You better, yeah. That's pretty awesome. And that's what we grew up on. Is that what you grew up on too? I have to imagine. Yeah.
Yes. And as soon as she masters that, I'm going to teach her how to drive a 13 and an 18 speed. So
find somebody with an old Dodge Dart and get her 3 in the tree.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Grandkids are a gift that is hard to describe to someone who doesn't have one.
Yes. And I like it that you can wind them up and send them back to mom and dad.
My grandpa, I think if you go back in the pages of that book, the first chapter is about my grandpa.
Mm-hmm.
The picture that I had him so my brothers, as I told you, I got 6 brothers, and my brothers read that and they're like, "Well, that's not the grandpa we knew." I'm like, "Well, that's probably because he didn't treat everybody the same. For crying out loud, he had 40 grandkids, and I would like to think he didn't like me anymore, but he didn't like me any less. He just probably thought I needed a little bit more attention. And so some of it negative and some of it positive, but the time that we invest in them, all the stories that we have. I mean, this podcast, your grandkids, when we're gone, are going to go back over and they're going to look over this podcast and they're going to say, "Those old scroats weren't so stupid after all."
Let's hope not. Let's
hope. But really, you're leaving a trail of breadcrumbs about everything that's important to you. I mean, if you think about it for a minute, you just did a podcast, and 20 years from now, this might be on some form of recording device where they look it up and they're going to get the gospel.
Yeah, they can.
There you go.
they can, because I'm a firm believer that revival is here.
Headed our way. There you go.
I do
Right
believe.
on. I'm with you.
All right, we got another question here for you.
All righty.
Mercury Retro wants to know, how do you balance being a CEO, author, and speaker while also being Grampion 18 grandchildren? Thank you, Mercury Retro.
Yeah. Mercury Retro, that's a cool name. I am I'm part of 3 family businesses that most of them are run by other folks now, and so I'm kind of in a little more consultative role. I think that most people, I'm 66 years old, I'm pushing 67, and most people think that when you get this age that I have somehow earned the right to slow down, and I abhor that notion. I think that we have a responsibility, maybe not to speed up, but to at least keep the pace that we're capable of and make time to do what's important and sort out the things where you can have the most significant effect. And by that, I mean, if someone said, Jim, we're going to pay you $10,000 to come speak, or you can go to your grandson's birthday party. Well, at that point, time is more important than money.
Yes.
And so I'm going to pick that time over that money, and everything has a hierarchy. And if we can look at Aristotle, he even back in those days, he said, hey, you got to pick the most important thing and make it the most important thing. And then everything else subjugates itself to that. If you look back over time, the people who the people who get the most done are the busiest people.
Yeah.
And so if you want to get something done, I think it's probably way more important to ask somebody who's got the capacity to do it, the desire to do it, and who will make the bandwidth to do it. So my grandson Gus called me today and he said, hey, Grandpa, we got some struggles with this retailer that I'd like you to help us with. And so because he thinks I happen to have the President Trump's Rolodex. I do not. But he thinks I can help with pretty much anything. And so I did try and help. And I carved away a whole bunch of stuff to be able to do that. So that hierarchy is something that we're going to have to pay attention to. And it gets more important the older you get.
Okay. And, you know, now, and I'm sure he knew it before, your grandson knows that, hey, if I'm really in a bind,
yeah,
Grandpa's going to help.
Yeah. You know, I had a telephone that I could just press that, that reject the phone call. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of people that wanted, I mean, when you're running when you get a business that's pretty large, you got a lot of people who want to, talk on your ear or sell you something stupid or borrow you some money, or, I mean, there's a lot of people who want to hang out. And I was pretty selective about who I took phone calls from. Mm-hmm. But when my phone rang and I saw my wife's there is no delay. There is none. There's that. I could be sitting here and you could have, I don't know, you could have Billy Graham and Pope John Paul or whatever his name is, the new one is, and you could have him sitting across the desk and I'd say, hang on a minute, my wife's on the other line, and I will take that call. And I will, because that is in the hierarchy of things. After my faith, she is the most important thing in my life.
Yes.
After that comes my kids. After that comes my grandkids.
Yes.
After that comes my country. It's like this isn't hard math, is it?
Yeah, God, family, country. That's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. Well, we are approaching up on 50 minutes here. And I tell you what, this has been a great conversation. And if somebody wants to get a hold of you, oh, wait a minute. We got another question that popped in.
All right.
Courage Choi, out of your 350 plus podcast interviews and 3 books, which story still inspires you the most? Thank you for that question, Courage Choi.
Wow. As I look, I'm going to pick one that most people probably wouldn't anticipate. I have a son-in-law. His name is Ian, and Ian, when he had just to say evidence of a misspent youth, not too unlike me.
Mm.
And so I wasn't really in favor of him marrying my daughter. But if you go to that book, you're going to find a chapter called Steadfast. And the meaning of steadfast is that you do not bend and change with the winds of time and popular opinion. What you do, I'm gonna scroll here a minute. I got to look at something else because I'm going to read something to you. Being steadfast sounds like it would be boring, never moving, slow, no speed to life. It sounds like the quality of being steadfast is something akin to life spent as a bridge abutment. That's not what it means. It's being certain and having the courage and the strength to resist bending and yielding to something that might look easier. And my son-in-law, Ian, shows me all the time that his faith is steadfast. And so I would say that's a big encouragement to me. And because he lives with us, he lives upstairs, and we have a 3-generation household. I see it often, and you don't get to fake stuff when you live with somebody. So steadfast would be one of those. So courage. Thanks for the question. That's awesome.
And that's amazing. I remember way back, and like when I was a kid, everybody, it seems like, these days or here, like in the early 2000s or whatever, and before that, everybody was like, okay, I'm an age to get married. I need to move out of the house, get married, go get my own house. But it seems like now, I don't know if it's financial or what it is, there's a lot of folks getting back to the generational households. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot that can be gained from that. First of all, you've got your network right there. You've always got family close, and you've got all that generational education that is in the same house.
Yeah.
And, and I think it's amazing.
Yeah. I would say that it's been a wonderful experience, and I wouldn't trade it for pretty much anything, man. I'm happy as a clam. And I got 3 grandkids underfoot most of the time. So,
hey, you know what? That's a problem that I would love to have.
Yeah.
That is a problem I would love to have. Now, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, ask you questions, schedule you for a speaking event, how do they get in touch with you?
A couple ways. The first, I'm pretty big on LinkedIn. And so if you're looking for LinkedIn, just look Jim Tracy, the Grampion, or if you want to go to my website, there's a website called the Grampion, Grampion, the www.thegrampion or www.thejimtracy. And if you find those, then you'll find me.
All right. That sounds great.
And you need to go on the Google to do that, right? Sorry.
Yes, you do that on the Google.
On the Google.
Okay, Jim, there's a question that we ask all of our guests. I know our producer, Rich, when he does the Misfit, he has a different way of asking it, but I've kind of got my way of asking it. What are 3 non-negotiables that have to happen every day for Jim, or his day is not complete?
Okay. Number 1, I learned from a pastor long ago that if you're not spending time in the Word, that you're not putting any value on the relationship. So I have the Bible in a year, and I have it in the book form, and I have it in the audible form if I'm gonna just plug some earplugs in and listen to that day. But I also have it on my computer, and so that's number 1. Number 2, every day my brother Pat he runs a small town grocery store up in North Dakota. And if you go up there and you find him in the store at noon, he's going to take a minute right at noon. His alarm goes off and he stops to pray. And all he's doing is talking to the Father. And if he talks to the Father, then he's developing a relationship with someone who he wants to hang out with. And so that's number 2. Now, I will tell you that we're a competitive family, and mine goes off at 11:59, so that I beat him to noon prayers. And so I would say Bible in a year is number 1, non-negotiable, and 2 is noon prayers. And the third one, see, I've been married now for 45 years, and I have figured out the secret to letting my wife know I love her, and that is a hug. You better, this is getting a little too, it's not raunchy, but it's certainly a little close. It's a hug that lasts 20 seconds. And I talked to a neuroscientist, and he says that, and he taught me that if you hug for 5 seconds, it's like shaking hands. But if you hug someone for 20 seconds, it's completely disarming and it's completely vulnerable, and it lets them know that no matter what, you're on their side. And so those are the 3 non-negotiables for me, is that I spend time in the Word and spend time praying, and I spend time hugging my wife. And after 45 years, it must be working.
Hey, it must be. And that's a good track record there. 45 years. That's congratulations on that.
Yeah, I forgot to tell my first wife about it, but it's the same person. So I guess I mean, that's a joke you're supposed to say in front of a new pastor, though.
Well, my pastor, being my son-in-law, he kind of knows. Yeah, he knows.
Wait till you get a visiting pastor. Send him on vacation just for the joke.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Jim, this has been a wonderful evening, and really enjoyed the chat. Love the book. That was, it was amazing. I really liked it. I really
Thank you very much, John. Stephen, send me an address, and I'll send you a copy.
Oh, I have a copy. I just need to read it.
All right.
I'm not the biggest reader in the world. I would rather get audio and listen to it, which is probably what I wound up doing. Yeah, which is probably what I wound up doing.
Though.
I'm that person that opens a book 2 pages in, I'm sleeping, so I have to listen to it for it to get through to me.
Hey, Stephen, I tell you what, I'll call you one day and I'll just read it to you over the phone. How's that?
As often as you know, as long as you buffer, I'll be like, oh my God.
You just got to put up with the buffer.
I'll be wanting to hug your neck for 20 seconds.
Well, all right. Well, hey, Misfit Nation, we're going to close it up here. Jim, thanks again. And Misfit Nation, remember, get out there, do your thing. Do something that you love. Tell somebody you love them. We love you. Remember, Jesus loves you. And tell somebody that Jesus loves them. You never know. You could bring somebody to the Lord. Thank you all.
Thank you,
Good night, everybody.
Appreciate you guys.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling, because we are
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.